It's been a long road to Destiny 2's eventual release here in September and October, depending on your platform or choice. And we finally got a taste of what the future lies with Destiny 2 with the beta that came out recently. Not as recently for people of console players, but for me as a PC player, I finally got my chance to play the PC version of Destiny 2. My history of the Destiny franchise has been very complicated, and I really want to follow how we got from Destiny 1 to here, because it's a fascinating story. Destiny 1's development, and even Destiny 2's development to a lesser extent, is kind of legendary kind of development like hell. So much trouble, so much drama, so many firings and rehirings and rewritings and redevelopings and retoolings, redesigning engines. It's a lot of it can be found on Kotaku, where they have really good stories about some background information on Destiny's development, and it sounds like a disaster, just like it seems like every Bungie game's development cycle seems like a disaster. You can check out Waypoint's Halo article if you want to read more about how fucked up Halo's development was while under Bungie's kind of stewardship. And now we're kind of back into the fray of Destiny 2, and I wanted to look back again at Destiny 1 because it's been such a weird experience, especially my experience with it. Just what my expectations were and how it developed. I wanted to go over that again real quick while you're watching some of my in-game footage of me playing the Destiny 2 beta on the PC. Again, my name is Isaac Wagner from HiddenAudiolog.com. You can check out more content like this on HiddenAudiolog.com or YouTube.com/HiddenAudio. But for now, let's get back into it. Launch Destiny was a very strange thing. There was another beta for it that was pretty big and felt really complete in terms of what I expected Destiny's experience to be. I remember playing a lot of the beta when it first came out. I was like, man, Destiny's gonna be the best game ever. There was a lot of hyperbolic statements about Destiny in terms of like, oh, what's gonna do, like, oh, everyone's gun's gonna be different or whatever stupid marketing bullshit Bungie wanted to peddle with Destiny, and they did a much better job in terms of just giving you that and saying, here, this is what Destiny actually is. Come and play it, see if this is something you like. And I liked what I played. The beta for the first one was really good. It was a really fun experience with a lot of great loot. They handled loot really well. The shooting was fantastic. And the art design and the music was outstanding in that game. I don't have very clear memories of the demo in a more specific levels in terms of content or who I played with or whatever. So I'm just gonna get straight into kind of launch vanilla Destiny, baseline Destiny. And it was a very strange experience. It was a very mysterious game, surprisingly so even. It was this weird world that you had never played before. Bungie had spent so much time in Halo's universe that any new universe that they created would be mysterious and feel brand new. The game had this very mythological vibe to it with characters with more descriptive names like, I don't know, like the Butcher, or your character, the Ghost, or you, the Guardian. Very descriptive names, but not descriptive in the sense where it's like, oh, this is David. It's like, no, this is the Guardian, who happens to be called David, but you don't know that because mythology. Lots of items that you didn't really understand what they did, weird quotes on weapons, especially legendary weapons. You're like, what does this mean? Does this give me a special effect? What's happening here? Weird worlds, weird things like you find in the world but couldn't interact with, and you're just like, oh, there's just this thing I can't mess with, or this looks like an area that something should be happening in, but there isn't anything happening in. It's like, it was a very strange launch game, and the mystery propelled me pretty far in the game. And I had a really good time. I played Destiny solo, the campaign story mode in quotation marks solo, except for the parts where it matchmake me and districts, and those were good fun. They're fun little co-op multiplayer things, but I really enjoyed just figuring out Destiny's world. It was a fascinating world that a lot of people kind of grew cold about because of how abstracted and esoteric everyone kind of talked, where everyone had this knowledge but they wouldn't explain it to you for the most part, and it was just they say something matter-of-factly. You had no idea what they were actually talking about. This is a weird piece of world building where you're treated as someone who's already part of the world and already experienced in the world. So like someone who grew up in, I don't know, Skyrim doesn't need to be told, oh, this is what a Khajiit is, where does a Khajiit come from, blah, blah, blah. And so they kind of took that approach where it's like, no, you are a lived person's world. You know what's going on. We're not going to explain it to you. And we're just going to make these esoteric references to things. And they're not even esoteric. In fact, we're only a small group of people know about them. It's a large, everyone knows about them, but you don't. You're not the one in on the joke, per se. Is that exoteric? I would have to look that up. But it was this very mythical world with these enemies with named names, like almost like gods, these swords and guns with named names like you expect from mythological stories. The further we actually have gotten into modern day mythology, the less important, like a gun with a name is not important. Like video games hold that up pretty well, but movies and stuff kind of ditched that, stories ditched that. A gun is a gun. Rifle is a rifle, a knife is a knife for the most part. And a lot of that stuff just kind of fell by the wayside. While in mythology there is a lot of special weapons, a lot of special armaments, a lot of special tools with names and almost personalities of their own, forged by big godly figures or demi-godly figures. And Destiny goes back to that a little bit, where every gun has a name. A lot of guns have names. Some of them are kind of generic, Model 55 or whatever, but a lot of them are also, especially down the later path, are named weapons like, I don't know, Galahorn or whatever like that. There's a weapon with Thorn in the name that I got in Vanilla Destiny or something. And it was very weird. It was very strange, and it really draws you in. You get all these named weapons, you fight all these named enemies, you have all these weird esoteric enemies like the Darkness, the Hive, the Fallen, all of these people that aren't given real distinct personalities, but they are bad people, and you have to fight these bad people because the bigger, badder people control them. And then Destiny ends. These launch Destiny ends, and you kind of defeat a big bad guy. Not the biggest bad guy or even a really big bad guy, just you defeat a bad guy. He was a bad dude. You bait him. And then Destiny's over. And that's where Destiny, you kind of started seeing the man behind the curtain, so to speak, of Destiny, where it's like, oh, I have all these currency, I have this light, I have these weapons, what does this actually mean? And once you finish this game and you peek behind the curtain a little bit and the game starts communicating a little bit more to you by the end, you're like, oh wait, there's not that much here, and what is here is kind of a shell of itself. You have this great first-person shooter, but you only have 3 or 4 weapon types. It's a very limited arsenal and very limited category. Sure, you have all these loot, and there's someone's like, oh, here's the rapid fire gun, or this gun shoots 5 times faster, there's assault rifle, or this handgun that's almost auto fire, and it's like, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's important and it matters, but you also need more types of things, and that's a problem. Is that it was this shelf shooter. It was really fun, really engaging, but there wasn't much to do in it. There was not a lot of sandbox opportunities compared to something like Halo, another previous fantastic sandbox shooter from Bungie. It was a shell of an RPG. There wasn't that much variance in characters, and there was a pretty good, clear abilities that were better than other abilities. And so there was not a lot of tools to express yourself as a better character. And by the time Vanilla Destiny was out, there wasn't that many crazy weapons. So it's like, oh no, I'm an assault rifle guy and get this. Like, yeah, I mean, the gun you get from the Stranger's pretty good near the end, but that's about it. And then there was other things like leveling up your light and grinding for more loot, or trying to upgrade your light level. None of it mattered for anything because there was nothing left in Destiny. Launch Destiny had very limited content. You can finish most of it in about 8 hours at least, for the most part, even on solo. There was no raid, there was a limited number of strikes, and the story falls off at a certain point. And so there's questions like, oh, I can grind all this currency and all these weird items. You're like, oh, I don't know what's going on with this, I don't know what this does. Turns out a lot of it's just fake. It was this bullshit currency you have to earn by being with different factions, playing in the PvP, doing these mission types, these contracts that you can do in patrol missions, or you can do in the arena, the Crucible, multiplayer, competitive multiplayer stuff. And it's all grinding small amounts of money over large periods of time. Save your pennies up and buy the slightly better stuff to make your life slightly better, so you can do what? And the answer was nothing for a while, until at least A Vault of Glass, the first raid, came out. But by that time, I was already far gone. When I heard about the raid, it's like, alright, no matchmaking, super coordinated, very long, like 3 to 5 hour commitment, single sitting commitment, extremely difficult and just punishing. None of those things are particularly interesting. I like my hard games. I like them hard if there's a reason for them being hard. In Destiny, in the vault, in the raids, which again, I just want to clarify, I've never participated in a raid just because of all of the following issues I listed above. I don't have other friends, Destiny friends. I played through the game solo. Matchmaking doesn't exist for raids in Destiny 1, so I couldn't even find random people to give it a try. I don't have 4 or 5 hours most of the time to just sit down and do something like play a raid. And I just don't want to grind shitty missions over and over again, or shitty encounters that they're not even challenging in the way you want them to challenge you, where they're stimulating you. They're challenging because they just beat you into the ground over and over again. And challenge like that is just not very interesting to me. That's why I never really like playing games on way harder difficulty unless it change AI or like any behavioral patterns to something where it's a greater challenge, not where just the challenge itself is being a beating doll, being I don't know, like a thing to just get whacked on constantly just for the sake of it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it just doesn't really interest me very much. And then eventually more expansions came out, the raids came out and everything. And a lot of it just focused on really short story content, which wasn't worth the money at all. Very slight increases, loot and stuff like that. Like, oh, this is the hive gear for this mission or whatever. I really defocused on competitive from I think it was the iron something. Again, I don't do a lot of research, so a lot of this is just kind of coming up as I say it, but it was a lot of PvP stuff, and a lot of just stuff I didn't really care about. I think Destiny is a really great shooter, but in the context of PvE. In PvP, something about Destiny just doesn't feel right with me. I'm not saying, oh sorry, it was the Iron Banner, that's what I was talking about, but specifically, I just don't like playing competitive Destiny. I know there's a lot of people that like that, and that's awesome. I want them to keep doing it, because there are a lot of people that really like it, but it's just not an attraction for me. And so Destiny kept going towards more of a multiplayer focus, co-op focus, competitive focus, and I'm a single player gamer, so it didn't really do much for me. And I don't blame Destiny for this at all, because I want them to make the game they want to make, and for the people who want to play that game. And if they do that stuff right and leave me behind the process, that's not nothing wrong with them. It's not anything wrong with me. It's just different tastes, it's different opinions, it's different likes and dislikes. I have other games I can go and play, even though it sucks, because Destiny has great loot and has great gameplay, but it is what it is. It's not you, it's me, or it's not me, it's you, however you want to say it. It's just not working out. But I always keep getting drawn back into Destiny, and the big thing that brought me back in was the Taken King, which is really well reviewed. People describe it maybe hyperbolically as like fixing Destiny 1 and making Destiny 1 as it should be. I played through all the Taken King stuff that was able to be done through matchmaking strikes or single player content, and it really just felt like more Destiny. Better Destiny with like better enemy encounters, better enemy designs, better environment designs for combat, and more interesting. I think there was more story focused missions and more just like, alright, if you're the solo player, here's more stuff for you to do, or not even more stuff for you to do, more stuff for you to engage with. And that was fun, and I really enjoyed the Taken King for a while. It caused me to replay Destiny again with a fresh new character, kind of going through. They had a big update where they kind of changed the progression of things, and even changed like the Ghost's voice actor from Peter Dinklage to Nolan North, which I'll say I actually liked Peter Dinklage take on Ghost. It was very dry in the way of like a robot, how I expect an AI robot, a very alien kind of AI robot that's not designed by people but by this great godlike traveler being that hovers over the city, that's unknowable, blah 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 blah. But I like Peter Dinklage's take on it, and Nolan North is a little bit more generic and kind of quippy, which I'm not a big fan of. It's a shittier version of Cortana, is basically what Ghost turned into. But I kind of ran into the same problem with Destiny, with the Taken King Destiny that I did Vanilla Destiny, which was a lot of co-op stuff, a lot of raids, a lot of competitive multiplayer stuff, some horde mode stuff, horde modes are never really good for the most part. There's a couple exceptions, of course, but I'm just generally not interested by that stuff. And so I kind of fell away from Destiny again. I didn't even play their last piece of DLC, Rise of Iron, for one, because I heard it was just more multiplayer focused stuff and more collectathon garbage. And I just didn't play it. I had no interest in engaging with that stuff anymore. And so I kind of put my bed to rest. That's a bad way of saying it, but I kind of settled on how I felt about Destiny by the end, which is, I think it's a good game despite itself. I think Destiny is one of the few games that is greater than the sum of its parts. If you kind of break down all of its aspects, it's a hollow shooter with not enough weapon types and not enough tools to engage with the sandbox in. It's a hollow RPG where there's not enough progression, meaningful choices the character gets to make to distinguish one character from another character. Taken King helped that a little bit, but still the issue persisted, even now, and I think in current Destiny, and it's did not really kind of appealed to me and kind of moved in ways that I wasn't interested in. I'm not really interested in PvP content. I'm not very interested in non-matchmaking co-op stuff, and the raid stuff just doesn't sound appealing. Even if I could matchmake, it sounds like those things would be almost unsolvable as how much communication you need. I don't want to talk to random people on the internet. Nothing good comes from that for video games, at least. I love interacting with people on Twitter or YouTube comments, but I want nothing to do with talking to a guy who's blasting his Kanye West song in the background. It's not a good thing. I don't like it. And so, like, I enjoy playing a lot of Destiny, and I ended up enjoying a decent chunk of Destiny, but it just kind of falls off a place where I just can't play anymore. It feels like there's this wall where, after Taken King, because Vanilla Destiny, there's this wall and there was nothing else past it. Past Taken King, for the most part, there's a lot more stuff you can do. There's a lot more Destiny to engage with, but there's this wall where it's like solo gamers, and you have this road right here, and then you hit this wall and it says co-op and multiplayer. And I'm glad that stuff's really good if people like that stuff, at least from the outside. I don't think any of that stuff is particularly well designed. I think it's mostly just designed for people who already like Destiny, not necessarily people who like co-op stuff or who like competitive first-person shooters. I think there's better games in both categories. Both have stuff that are better designed and earn their accolades more than Destiny does. But it's designed for people who already like Destiny, which it felt like a smaller and smaller group of people, of a more fanatic group who support Destiny despite all of its problems. But Destiny's a game I always really wanted to love. It always had the potential to be one of the best games of all time. Bungie's one of the best games of the generation, at least. I don't want to be too hyperbolic about it. It's Bungie, who has a fantastic track record of the Halo franchise and the Halo series. And it's kind of all the talent they bring to the table on that. And now we're at Destiny 2. And going into it, I didn't really know what to think about Destiny 2, especially kind of watching some not launch stuff, but like announcement trailers and like developers talking about Destiny 2 and what their approach for Destiny 2 is. Some CGI trailers that came out. And it felt like Bungie didn't really learn their lesson. Destiny was always a very polarizing game with a lot of people. One of the best examples is like almost like the 30 to 45 minute long argument Giant Bomb had to even put Destiny onto the list because everyone just hated it so much. At least vanilla Destiny at the time. Taken King wasn't out then. And kind of coming in Destiny 2, it's like you have the one lesson looks like you learned is that you have more story, you have more characters quipping and talking, more like personality driven content. And I don't know, I feel like it's even going the wrong way from what I want Destiny to be, which is I really enjoy the mythological obscure stuff, even though it's not always done perfectly and sometimes it's more obscure than it needs to be. I don't care about any of your characters in this game as like actual people. I care about them the way that I think Odin's cool, or that I think, like, I don't know, like the Egyptian mythology is really interesting for its complicated like metaphysics, or like a Sigurd story or something like that, where it's like, oh, there's this cool hero, not a great character, but like this interesting force that goes through the world, or like an Arthurian legend or something like that. You don't like King Arthur because he's a good character. You like King Arthur because of how he is a foil for the world and develops it further and reveals the other secrets within the world. And that's how your character felt like Destiny 2. I will say that their kind of approach of storytelling Destiny 2, where they kind of say, oh, you already know all this stuff because you're a lived-in character, doesn't work especially well, since your character is dead for most of the mythology of Destiny 2 and is brought back to life. So that's kind of a weird contradiction there that doesn't really exist. That exists, unfortunately. Probably shouldn't exist, and they probably should tell you a little bit more. That isn't reading stupid fucking Grimoire cards outside of the game. Most of your storytelling is outside of the game. There's a fucking problem. So coming in Destiny 2, it's like, oh, you're getting rid of the one piece of storytelling stuff that I like, and you're making the game more generic. In the process, you're losing that unique mythical feel and becoming like, I don't know, Borderlands. You got quippy characters, strong personalities, like faults in their personality, more human characters, and I guess that's not what I'm interested in at all. That's not what I want you to bring to the table here. And then everything else just looks like more Destiny. Like, there's more guns, there's more abilities, there's more stuff. It looks like more Destiny. It looks like what a bad sequel is, which is just, even like a bad sequel is a game that's like, alright, here's the game you played before, but more of it. Which is sometimes a good thing if you really like the game, but for the most part, just is bad. It's a bad thing. A good sequel takes a game and then like treats it almost as like one interpretation of the series, and like, what's the core idea of Destiny? How can we move this to a new thing that's better? And Destiny has a lot of problems. Like, I'm not the only one just because I don't like co-op or I don't like competitive multiplayer. There's plenty of people who do not like Destiny, or very polarized and very kind of almost thrown out to the wolves a little bit of Destiny because of its fanatic fan base, and Bungie catering to those people instead, the people who wanted to like Destiny, but Bungie never gave a good reason to like it. And then the Destiny 2 beta came out. I did not get the nice hot takes with it initially when it came out for the consoles. I'm not a big console gamer anymore. I missed it. I have a PC. I'm really enjoying PC gaming. I'm trying to do most of my gaming on there. So I had to wait for some reason for the Destiny 2 beta, and it's finally come out, and I played through it. And there's not a lot there. It's one story mission, one strike, and 2 multiplayer maps. Story mission, the game looks fantastic, looks gorgeous, but Destiny always looked good. It had a really good art style. Music feels weaker, especially because Marty O'Donnell left now, and his music is not... Marty O'Donnell left before was fired before Destiny 1 came out, but all of his work was already done by that point for the most part. Music feels more generic, kind of like high action, sci-fi, again losing a lot of its more mystical, interesting personality and perspective on its world. What else here? Again, there's not that lot to talk about there. You kind of get the big bad guy immediately set up for you, who's this was it the Cabal? He's a Cabal leader. Whatever, like, he's just a dude. Like, the most interesting enemies in Destiny are the ones that are more metaphorical, or like these bigger villainous people. Like, this guy just seems like one of the like the 10,000 bosses you fight in the story mode of the game that has a name, but like you kill them because it's not those characters. They're not characters. They're not interesting to fight. It's what they represent and who's behind them. That's really interesting. So I hope he's not the main villain for the entire storyline for Destiny 2, because it's going to feel a lot like vanilla Destiny 1, where you beat this thing and then you're like, alright, what's the next big thing? Where can we fight the real big thing? And it's like, well, not in this game. And I have now that they're making more of like here's the main antagonist in the game, which Destiny 1 didn't really have. It was more of a collective force, a collective mythology that you were fighting against, a collective evil. And now this is, here's a person with a name who's defining personalities that he's a bad guy, which is bad storytelling. but Bungie lost a lot of its writers with Destiny 2 as well. So kind of the people who made Halo. The strike was fun. I will say that there was a decent amount of like platforming around, which is strangely satisfying in Destiny, just because of like the way your character floats and hovers around the world. It's kind of fun to do all that stuff. So nice mix of new enemy types, and like the action's still really fun. In fact, it feels better. Like guns, it seems like even in the beta there's more types of guns than there ever was in Destiny vanilla or even post Taken King Destiny. With like the grenade launcher, the sidearm, all that stuff. At least it's equivalent to what you already expect from Destiny post Taken King. I never played with most of that stuff because I didn't get very far in Taken King. As far as I'd never engaged with the raids or any of that other extra content past the story mission. And it was kind of fun having like that giant drone at the bottom, which is kind of chases you down, tries to kill you and everything. It's pretty fun. And then there's the multiplayer modes, which I tried one round of each just to say that I did it, make sure I kind of got as much content as I could out of it. And it's Destiny multiplayer. In fact, they just rip off Counter-Strike a little bit with the bomb arming and planting thing, one life mode basically. And you know, I just don't give a fuck, man. I don't care about that. It's bad. Like, it just doesn't. Whatever that makes Destiny such a fantastic shooter, and a PvE, this just does not work out for me on a PvP. I feel like this, like how your character aims and how your shots hit works well for enemies that are not human size. You always get enemies that are bigger than you, or like have more arms than you, and so they have wider, like more things you can shoot at and hit. It's not a trick or anything that like all of Destiny's bosses get bigger and bigger and bigger the further down the list you go, like physically bigger, because it's more fun and it's easier to shoot those things. When you're fighting people with high mobility like the Guardians do, your character does, who are also small targets, it's just not very fun to play against, at least for me. And so I kind of went out of Destiny 2 as like, what are they focusing on? What are they actually fixing in this? What does the beta kind of represent to me? And I kind of come up a little bit blank, honestly. It just feels like more Destiny for the most part, with maybe a bad like inference on story, where it's more character driven than it is more plot driven, I guess, or more like driven by its own mythology and mythos. Which I thought was really interesting, really engaging with Destiny. Maybe I was in the minority on that, but now it just feels like it even has, by going for a more character personality driven story, it feels like it's lost a lot of its personality, its original personality in the first place, which maybe is a good thing for some people. It's just not a good thing for me. The single player mission was pretty linear and pretty corridor shootery, but it was the first mission in the game, at least I assume so that's to be expected. You get really good gear at the beginning. I think probably some of the best gear in the game, in Destiny 2 at least, right off the bat, and you don't really get any meaningful extra loot, because everything else is the same, somewhere strengths and somewhere power levels that what you start out with. So I didn't get a good chance of seeing if the gear system is more rewarding or interesting, or whatever new tricks they have going on there. And the multiplayer, and with there being almost as much multiplayer content as there is single player content, I do have the strange feeling that this game is going to be even more PvP focused. And maybe even more co-op focused. There's no raid in it, but there's a strike and it's matchmaking, and I can do that. Like, you don't need any communication to finish the strike. It's pretty straightforward. And so when I kind of look at Destiny 2, I just don't know. I do really want to play it because I like playing things. I like playing these big things that come out. I love engaging with that stuff. I am really disappointed that as a PC person, as a primary PC gamer, I won't be able to play Destiny 2 right away, especially how Bungie wants Destiny franchise and series to live on. It's this, I don't know, it's like a lifestyle. It's like, and I think that speaks to its rabid fan base and everything, is that I understand why they become this rabid and why this fanatical, because Bungie wants to make it a lifestyle. Similar to League of Legends or Dota, you're not just like, you're not a MOBA gamer, you're a League of Legends fan, you're a League of Legends player, and that's what they want to do. It's like, you're not just a shooter fan, you're a Destiny fan, you're a Destiny player. as a League of Legends person, I can totally relate. When I wake up in the morning, one of the 3 sites I check right at the beginning of the day is reddit.com/r/League of Legends. And I see what's going on there and what news I missed or what new announcements could be or new skins that got announced, what's coming up, new game modes or anything. So I can totally understand where they're coming from. But I just don't see how Destiny's going to do that for me. And Destiny 2's beta has not convinced me of that either. I'd really like to be proven wrong. I'd like to enjoy Destiny 2. I like Destiny 1 despite itself in a lot of cases. But when I look at Destiny 2 and I get to play it, especially delayed, and which is a shame considering they want to create this lifestyle game, this game where you're not just they're not aiming for fans of shooters. They want you to become a Destiny fan and just play Destiny and check the Destiny Reddit every time you wake up in the morning to see what the developers are going to put out next, what new discovery people found out about the game. When you stagger releases like that, it makes me even more it makes me suspicious that Bungie doesn't even know what kind of game they want to make, or Activision doesn't know what kind of game they have and are publishing it incorrectly. Is it better delaying the console versions of Destiny until with the PC release? I think so. I think that's 100% what you do. It's like if Bloodborne came out, and let's say it's a magical world, Bloodborne came out on all the consoles and PC. If Bloodborne came out on PS4 and it took a month or 2 for the PC version to come out and for the Xbox One version or whatever, however it would shake out in the end, it's a shared experience. It's a shared game by design. Bloodborne is a shared game by design. Destiny is a shared game. You walk around the world, you find other people, you can go on these strikes, you can go on these raids. But if you're splitting up the fan base like this, and by the time the PC game comes out and all the console players have ever figured out all this stuff, the PC place is going to be a sad place. It's going to be a sad time for potentially half or more of your community. I don't know what they expect Destiny to do, but I assume it will be pretty well. They're putting in the Battle.net client, and that's one of the most popular clients being used right now for PC gaming right alongside Steam. I mean, you have StarCraft, you have Overwatch, you have Diablo there, you have World of Warcraft there. A lot of people are going to see Destiny there. And if by the time they get to it and say, oh, that's a cool thing, what are people saying about it? People have already figured out Destiny 2 by the time they get to it. It's going to be a poor experience for them. And I'm really worried about that myself going into Destiny 2 as a PC person. I played Destiny 1 on the Xbox One. I don't really have any interest in continuing to play on there. I got that smooth, I got that really great 60 frames per second. It looks gorgeous. I want to play it as best. I want to play the best version of Destiny possible. And I do not believe that is the PS4 or the Xbox One versions of those games. And so going to the final release of Destiny 2, I'm very skeptical of it. I want to like it and I will play it, but from everything like the limited focus of the beta in terms of limited content and proving that they've learned their lessons or are trying to move Destiny in a different place, Destiny 2 in a different, better place than Destiny 1, or at least that they're trying anything at all, because it doesn't feel like they're trying anything new. It's more Destiny, in some ways better, in some ways worse. It's a better shooter, but maybe it's a worse story. I can't tell about the RPG aspects because the character's already maxed out by the time you get it. It doesn't look any more complicated than Destiny 1's character though, and that's a bad sign. And so I kind of go into this thinking like, I don't know. I want to like it. I will play it. It's a shitty fucking thing. I have to play it way later than everyone else. But it is what it is. And going finally towards the release of Destiny 2, it doesn't feel like Bungie have learned the lesson and are just making it more for the people who already like Destiny. Maybe that's good enough for them. Maybe that's good enough for the fans. But it's disappointing and it's not good enough for me. Again, my name is Isaac Wecker. You can check out all my content at hiddenaudiolog.com. You can find me at Senator Spacer on Twitter. You can tweet me there for any questions or if you want to add to the discussion here. I'll definitely interact with any YouTube commenters who want to leave comments on the video. Again, check out hiddenaudiolog.com and youtube.com/hiddenaudiolog for more content. I'll see you when Destiny 2 finally comes out on the PC specifically. Bye-bye.